Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with my co-conspirators, smartest man you'll ever meet, and his sidekick, Mike Carroll. We've got Bill Englehart, and we've got Mike Carroll, of course. I wanted to read something to you, Mike.
Okay.
I was looking through old pictures. Somebody dropped off a box. I think it was Randy Hastings. Dropped off a box of stuff and had a lot of old pictures and negatives, but it had this old copy of the regional. This is from 2003. I would have been in Mount Vernon in 2003, but my column was running. And so I opened it up to read my column, and this is my column from 2003. I was discussing the art of writing last week with one of my favorite writers, Tuscola lawyer Mike Carroll. Mike writes an occasional editorial for my hometown newspaper. He's a better writer than I am. He's smarter and makes more money, all things that typically would make me hate him. But he's just so gosh darn personable and funny, both traits and characteristics I aspire to have. I have been licking your boots for decades.
Boy, that's
Well,
something.
there's a reason I'm doing the damn podcast for you.
I just wanted to remind you.
You know what? I was playing golf. Honestly, I was playing golf with John Coates, and Coates said, "Man, did you read that article about you?" I said, "What article?" And he said, "Dave Porter said you were the best writer," and blah blah blah. And I said, "You got to be kidding me! What's wrong with Dave?" And I went and got the paper. It's probably the nicest thing anybody ever said about me in print. So I appreciate it. I've always appreciated it. And by the way, you're a better humor writer, as attested to by the many awards.
Yeah.
Now, I think I'm funnier. I think I'm funnier off the cuff. You think puns are funny, or you would be funnier than me, but nobody likes puns. I'm just kidding. But you are
I don't know. I entered a pun contest. I submitted 10 puns, hoping that that one would win, but as it turned out, no pun intended.
Yeah. No, your columns are, I don't know when, at some point in time, maybe you always wrote this way. I started noticing your columns way back 20 some years ago, and they were usually self-effacing about, you were like the Rodney Dangerfield,
I get no respect.
I get no respect. It's always about your family or goofing up or not.
Yeah.
And you've kept that vein. That's kind of a self-effacing. And that's the one place left in humor. People are saying humor is dead because everybody's so sensitive and everybody's so racially sensitive to their gender, their pronouns. But self-effacing humor still works. And you've been consistently, you've developed that as well as anybody, and
you can make fun of yourself.
Yes. Now, did you always have that vein, or did it develop as you wrote? Did you start out serious or start out this way or that way, and all of a sudden you developed this style?
I've always been very serious. No one would have pegged me for a humorist.
Yeah.
Well,
Twain was voted the most serious guy in his class.
I was too. I don't know. But I was voted most serious boy and best legs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bill was voted, actually, to give Bill a little thumbs up, Bill was voted most likely to succeed. And he did. He went to work for DeKalb.
Yeah.
Well, the self-deprecating humor, and don't confuse that with self-defecating humor.
There's a fine line there, though, Dave. There's
thin line. I think that's just, for me, I've always tried, for the most part, try to play it safe. And it's always felt like making fun of myself was safe, as opposed to, poking fun at somebody else.
Well, it is scary. But did you start off like political themes, or did you start up out of the box with this kind of style? Because you've really developed over the last 20 years.
This style started when we started the regional, which was in 1994.
About 30 years ago.
So I wanted to have a column, a weekly column, but I also knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of time to edit and refine it. And so, which is why I called it Ramblin' Man from the beginning, because the whole concept was that it's not really me is a character, and this character just kind of rambles. And you've referred to it at times as stream of consciousness writing. Well, that was the idea of Ramblin' Man, was that it would be like this webcast, unscripted, just first draft. As I like to say with my column, I shit it and forget it. I'll write it.
So it is self-defecating.
Yeah, I'll write it in 10 or yeah. I'll write it in 10 or 15 minutes, and I don't edit it.
Yeah.
You just get whatever's on my mind. Like this week's column, I had an idea of where I wanted to go with that column. Well, as I'm writing, it took off in a different direction.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in letting the story go where it takes you. And so,
but isn't that fun? I mean, I've had columns as I write, I start laughing. I don't know where it's coming from. As I write, I go, that was funny. Well, I wrote it, so why didn't I know? Why did it hit me after I wrote it that it was funny?
Well, there's there's an old saying in writing that no tears for the writer, no tears for the reader. Mm-hmm. So if you can make yourself laugh, then hopefully you're making your reader laugh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's I've talked about this whenever we have lunch with Buckley and I both are warriors who, we write it, we polish it, we change it, we throw it away, we write it again, we spend time. And Buck and I both just say, gosh, we'd give anything if we could just be like Dave and whip it out,
Mm-hmm.
But you did venture a couple weeks ago, you ventured out with a bunch of statistics. And I said, David actually had to research something, which slows you down a little bit.
Took an extra 10 minutes.
It took you 10 minutes?
Took an extra 10 minutes to do that research.
Doesn't that break what I do sometimes? I'll be writing, I'll get to something that I need to research, and I'll just put an X there and just keep on going. And then go back and fill the X in later when I do the research. Do you actually stop?
On that particular one, I had the idea, I did the research first.
Okay, and then you wrote it.
And then I wrote the column.
Yeah. What was Buckley's? I haven't read it yet.
About his granddaughter playing volleyball.
Oh, he's good at family.
Mm-hmm.
He's good.
He's sensitive.
He's a very sensitive guy. He's a very nice guy, and he finds that one little. His usually revolves in one little banger at the end, like he talked about when he first started writing. And I told him I said, Dave said he'd publish him, and I talked him into. I said, go ahead, Pete, send this stuff to Dave. We kind of started him on his career, and I remember one of his first ones was going to IGA. His wife at Christmas time wanted red and green chocolate drops or something for some cake. And so he went in there, he didn't know where to get them. He couldn't find him. He spent an hour, and he finally got some helper to come up. And he goes, well, do you have any of these red and green chocolate drops anymore? And the guy said, I don't know. He said, but I'll look around, and he's looking around. And Pete's sitting there feeling like an idiot. And about then the guy comes back and he gets on the intercom, says, I got a guy here wanting red and green chocolate drops. Anybody know where these things are at? I've never heard of him. He's on the intercom. So Buckley's usually wind up with something at the very end that kind of pops it. Yours is just funny all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Buckley is sort of like pulling the thread on a sweater, and then it all comes unraveled. It's keeps going.
Yeah, he's kind of the Rodney Dangerfield with the punchline. Well, anyways, I think it's kind of fun to create. It's fun to write, and I think you ought to be proud of yourself for spawning so many writers. But you were Buckley's first publisher, and it was nice of you to give him a chance. He turned into a heck of a writer.
Well, we got Lena to write for a long time.
Oh, she was really good. I miss her.
She was great. She had a gift. She ought to go back and do it again.
And then with a simple drawing.
Yeah, she had a cartoon to go.
Yeah, it was.
Would she want to do it again?
Very good.
Well, I don't know. She's certainly welcome to.
And, well, maybe she's, when she quit for a good reason, too busy, but maybe now she could do it.
She's still pretty busy. So anyway, let's
get going.
You got anything? I got some fun stuff.
That's Abraham Lincoln, by the way, over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Lincoln. That's a picture Mike gave me.
I found an antique store. Dave's a collector of Abraham Lincoln, good old Springfield
memorabilia.
Boy. Yeah, it's a pretty good thing to collect.
Mm-hmm.
And that cost, I don't even want to tell you what that cost, but don't you worry about it.
I wasn't worried.
Well, I don't want you to worry about it. I mean, Becky and I are getting by.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, look at these folks. We got some good
Hey,
ones here.
man.
51 is Gary Henby. 31 is Kevin Connor. That's Bill Burst in the back.
Yeah.
11 is who's 11? Oh, 43 looks like Greg Hastings.
That's Chopper.
And 25 is the youngest Mick boy. There's Doug Dietrich.
Yeah, that's Doug
second
behind
upper left,
Henby.
Behind Henby. Is that Huber, 33? Is that Rudy?
I believe it is.
Is that Oaks?
I didn't recognize Rudy. I usually do.
Folks.
Saw
Folks?
Rudy the other day at the Rotary auction. He was doing the auctioneering.
They did real well, as somebody told me. They did talking to Corey Kleiss the other day, and he bought something there. And I think they did real good. Now 50 in the far right, that's Steve Sanderson.
Mm-hmm. Sluter's the assistant
Sluter's
coach,
on the right.
JV
Bill
coach.
versus a coach. I don't know who these two guys are down here.
Well, I've got
Well,
names.
it's Al Patton.
Was that's Al Patton on the
Yeah.
left?
Talked to Al the other day. He's on the far left. Did you get Kevin Connor, 31?
Kevin 31. Mike Waters 23. Is that
Looks
not
like
Mike,
it.
not Mike.
Phil.
Phil Waters. Chopper 43, 51 Gary
Yeah.
Henry. 11. Not sure about 11.
That's Smith, isn't it?
Oh, Rick Smith. You're probably right. Is that his? Yeah, that's Rick Smith.
I think
Like
you
I said,
got
Rice, Craig
almost
Smith.
all of them.
Who?
I think you got almost all of them.
Oh, this guy is an
Oakley. That's an Oakley.
Oakley. 40 some. Yeah, this is about a 70 two.
Well, the
Three?
envelopes were marked 1971.
Well, that could be freshman. Did John Surma graduate in 71?
He graduated in 71.
So this is the fall of 71.
I think it's a
72
little
class.
bit later. I think it's the year after that.
Well, that's what I'm
because-
saying. It's 72.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Dietrich played with Surma and Huber. Dietrich didn't know he scored 1,000 points, and he always said, "Who in the world would believe I could score 1,000 points playing with Surma and Huber?"
Mhm.
So
Sure.
who have we missed? Anybody?
Well, we got the next to Burris. We're trying to figure out if that's
That's not Oaks because he
is that
graduated.
Fultz?
It's Mark
No.
Mark Budden.
Mark Budden, Herb's
Hmm.
younger brother. I'll be darned.
I think you got everybody else, but I'll run through quickly. Kevin Connor provided names. Front row, left to right, Alan Patton, Mike Parker, Rick Smith, Gary Henby, Greg Hastings, Phil Waters, Kevin Connor, Les Sluter. Back row, Bill Burris, Mark Budden, Doug Dietrich, Rudy Huber, Neil Oakley, Steve Mick, and Steve Sanderson.
That was a good group of guys.
Uh,
Good team. Couple of thousand.
It's Mrs. Hauser on the right,
Mrs. Hauser on the right, and she is.
and I don't know.
This is in the 70s. Look at the skirts. And look at the boy's pants. Look like he just came out of a circus tent.
I think all but one photo was from 1971 from the envelopes.
That looks like a help me out here.
I can't.
Dixon boy in the middle. One of the Dixons.
I didn't get these posted till this morning, so I don't have a lot of help on some of them.
Is that Brad?
I
Dixon?
don't know. Brad, Craig,
Craig.
but that is Mrs. Hauser. That was always the Poppy Award or whatever.
Right.
some Patriotism. This is early East Prairie School, late 60s, early 70s. Wow. I bet these folks have changed a lot.
You think it's those East Prairie gyms,
Mhm.
seats?
Yep. Those are the age kids that would be. Do you have anyone on that?
No,
David?
not on this one.
This girl here on the left looked familiar. That's Mary Ann Holstein, the
Mhm.
next one.
Yeah.
Yep,
That
you
looks
got that one.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Allison, and was that his dad? Who, I don't know.
I don't know who it is. Someone just won a TV. And
Well,
look at that. It's a color TV.
that was when I was in grade school and high school. Allison's was the place to go. It was all the technical wonders, and he sold records, and they were the old
Vinyl.
vinyl,
Mhm.
and he had a listening booth back there.
Yeah,
He had a couple
you
of
can
them.
go
You
back
could- you
and
could go take
rock
one of
and
those
roll.
records, close the door, and sit there and listen
Mhm.
to.
You know what's
Elvis Presley.
behind him right now, which I'd really like to find and
Mhm.
have? A clock radio.
Well, you know what? You can't find a clock radio anymore.
I know.
I've gone to Best Buy. I've gone to all the electronic places, and they've got these.
They look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I just want to be able to turn on
A radio.
radio. You know,
There's a little transistor right over his right shoulder there.
they don't sell them anymore.
That's a 9 volt. Wasn't it 9 volt transistor?
I don't know, but you're right. That's all full of radios.
I received a clock radio when I graduated from high school. That was my gift. Yeah.
There's Ned Ferguson on the right. This must be. Let's see if we see Bumper here.
Well, the bumper would be too young for this picture.
Yeah, that's a Ford.
That's a wood up there far left. Is that Donnie Payton up there? Big
Well,
boy? I can't
don't know.
tell.
This is probably
I don't know.
right around the same time, late 60s, early 70s. These guys are all graduated probably 75, 76. You should be able to recognize somebody.
I've got a few names on this one.
Give us a name and see if we can place them.
Joey Peach.
Joey Peach?
No. Another name?
Joey Peach is middle row on the left. And now you look at it, you can say, yeah, that looks like a peach.
Yeah.
John Oid tagged Steve Laley.
Well, Steve Laley.
I don't know if Steve's in the picture, but he tagged him. Susan Bechtel says Brian Wood, back row left.
I got him.
Yeah. Back row left.
Anderson.
Who?
Trent Anderson.
He's in the middle back row.
Back row in the middle. And Donnie Payton.
That's upper right.
I was right.
Upper right.
And let's see. Then Susan Harbaugh says, isn't that John Stiles in the middle row, white t-shirt holding the trophy?
Could be. Look at the size of those trophies for
JFL.
JFL. That's bigger than.
Was that JFL or punt pass kick?
I don't know, but those trophies are bigger than what we got in high school. Most valuable player was about the size of
Other name
ball.
is Jack Dallas. You find him?
No.
That's your cousin. That's some relative of yours.
Yeah, he'd be a cousin. Second or third cousin. That is front row middle. And Carol Zane says looks like Steve Laley on the left in the middle row. But that's the left in the middle row is Joey Peach.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, they all had bangs, didn't they?
So I don't know. Could
Cut their hair.
I never had bangs.
No.
My hair wouldn't grow long enough.
so maybe a question on that one. I recognize a couple in here.
Obie Decker, middle left. Kalmar.
Kalmar in the center.
Chunk Campbell back middle.
Yep. That's Greg.
Greg Campbell.
Married one of my classmates.
Kid on the back right looks very familiar.
The names are kind of all over the place. We've got Andy Gangloff.
Okay, hold on.
upper left.
Gangloff Andy was pretty heavy set, little rascal, at one time. I think that's,
That's him.
I don't think so, but
So
I can't tell.
middle front.
Middle front.
Okay.
You remember his dad, Gaylord?
Oh, yeah, Gaylord. Good golfer.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Huber,
Doug Huber's in this?
Terry Parker says Doug Huber, right, second row.
Oh, that's right. That was Doug Huber was Kenny Huber's son. Wayne. That's Wayne's boy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Huber's son.
Whatever
Dirk,
happened.
Dirk Dietrich says back row is Stan Redden, Greg Campbell. Then he's got a question mark. Middle row, Colby Decker, Steve Calmar, Doug Huber. Front row, question mark, Andy Gangloff, Eric O'Brien, question mark. And Jana Flume says Rodney Jacob, maybe top right. And Stan Redden says, yes, that's Randy Jacobs. Nancy Huff Stutler says, my son Doug Huber, second row, right. So
Nancy was her name.
Yeah. Radio operator at the jail back in the 70s, Mustangs attorney.
but I recognize Colby right away.
Yeah. Well, there they go. That looks like a Farm Bureau guy.
It's Jerry Malady in the middle,
Mhm.
and that's Dale Bateman to his left.
Far right.
Yeah, I recognize Dale. The one on the right looks familiar, but I wasn't.
This is the one on the far left's Rich Carter.
Rich Carter used to run, this is the Farm
Okay.
Bureau. Rich used to be the director of the Farm Bureau.
Had three kids,
Yeah.
Right.
all mostly around my age. Two daughters, one a year older and one a little younger.
Greg
The Carter girls, the Carter kids.
Girls.
Greg was the boy.
Yeah, and then he was younger.
Don't know the guy on the right or the second from the left. They could be from around the county. That's Daryl Ford on the left, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Not sure. You can tell the second from the right's a farmer because his forehead's white.
Hmm.
The old farmer tan
Yeah, that's Daryl.
out in the wind.
That's all the only name I had on that.
Well, that's the 75th anniversary of the Tuscola Women's Club, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good
That's-
guess.
That's Mrs.
Hackett.
Wetzel.
Wetzel, Hackett. You know who that is? That's Mrs. Helm, the library aide.
Yes, Doris.
She's
Doris Helm.
Doris Helm.
Not, was it Doris?
I don't.
Well, Doris
no,
Helm-
it wasn't Doris.
What
It
was her name?
What was her name?
Doris Helm was
Becky, who was the librarian at the high school, Mrs. Helm.
and the woman on the
Don't
right
know.
looks like
You didn't
Mrs.
know. Did you ever go in the library? or-
Bill, we're live here.
Oh, I'm just asking.
Is that Mrs. Ross on the right?
That's Mary Ross.
Yeah, David Wilson said Mrs. Ross on the right. And what's the building, Bill?
Well,
That's Presbyterian Church. And by the way, I think, is that Lita Whitaker? Second?
no, I don't think so.
It's not,
I don't think so.
but that is Mrs. Helm.
What was her first name?
Well, I can't remember.
Well, we're getting old. If you see Bill anywhere, just let out a big yell inside the church.
I see.
There's Lucille Dickinson, second from the left,
Then
Mrs. Burns.
Lucille Burns. Yeah, you think about it for a second because we
Well,
know her, don't we?
Yeah.
You know the fourth one, Bill.
I do, and I'm just gone.
It's wasn't a very good negative, so it's got a lot of
I know it's kind of blurry and
kind of, but it's Lucille Owe,
oh, it's Lucille Oy. Yeah,
according to
God,
John, who would know.
came to me just at the same time.
Well, that's,
Before Lucille had glasses on.
well, that looks like Lucille Oy in the middle.
Yeah, good guess.
I didn't hear what you guys were saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Lucille was one of my favorites. She really was. That has become a house now. That's in
Mhm.
Hillcrest. As you turn to go around Wimple Park.
It's all the way out in the east edge.
Mhm.
And
Hillcrest Baptist Church.
I think Hawkins bought that.
I don't know who bought it. They renovated it totally. I mean,
I think Brian Hunt lives there.
probably.
Down the street from that looks like Leo Gossett Jr.
I knew you'd guess this one, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just
Good
guessing.
guess,
I'm just
buddy.
guessing.
Yeah, he just always helps when we have the name on the plaque.
Always helps.
What? Oh, there's the plaque.
Yeah.
There's the plaque.
This is when I put a refrigerator at Dr. Steiner's house. I don't know.
I don't think
Whose house
that's
is
not
that?
against Steiner's, is it?
Well,
Mm,
let's see. Kathy Clapper says great memories of Newkirk Street. Eric Alexander says
Oh, it's Swihart's.
East Newkirk.
Gaylord and Swihart's house.
Mhm.
Eric Alexander said his grand uncle Albert Ron built this house. He and his wife built it in 1946.
Yeah, it's a nice brick house right down there.
Eric's always good for a little
Out the street.
It's right next to Libby.
is it Newkirk?
No, it's Newkirk. It's right next to Chuck Holmes lives down on the corner.
Mhm.
Ted Cox's old house is right east
Yeah.
of it, and then over the other side was
Where Foxes live.
Fox's, Libby, and Steve fixed it up.
I can understand, it got TP'd, but I don't understand what the refrigerator's doing.
Well, that gets expensive, and you've got to have someone like Chuck Durnall along with you to carry that up to the front porch.
I don't know what that's all about.
That was either Bud Dixon. Oh, there you go. Look at this. Oh my gosh, that's the old Bill Blackman, coach of Illinois back in the 70s.
Bruce Knox.
Dartmouth. Bruce Knox.
Lynn Strack.
And that is Oscar Hicks on the left.
Oscar Hicks, you're right.
This is all. We actually got recruited in '65. Bill Blackman, I think, coached out of Dartmouth, and they came and talked to a couple of us guys back in the 60s for football.
He was a nice guy.
Great guy. Just wasn't much of a
Didn't win.
winner. Football, they want you to win, not be nice.
Well, he won more than Valek did.
He did. Jim Valek was like 1-7.
So, and I'm just ignorant here, but what percentage do you think is? I mean, sometimes a coach I could see, has a great team, you get a lot of wins. How much of it is coaching, and how much of it is talent on the floor?
Talent helps.
At high school level, college level is recruiting. Once you win, like Alabama or some of these schools, you can recruit the best in the nation. Just look at Alabama gets all these 4 stars. Illinois gets 3 stars. So you got to get up there and start getting the 4 stars but the high school level, I think a lot of it is tradition. I think Arcola and Tuscola, for example, started out as very strong football schools. And I think the kids realized to be a star at Arcola or Tuscola, you could play football in the 40s or 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just tradition.
I would expect that coaching has a lot to do with it, with whether
Yeah,
it
but I
wins
mean,
or not.
It does, Oscar. But I'm just saying, if you look at Tuscola's got the 3rd winningest program in the state of Illinois, and we've had 20 coaches. And I'm just saying we've had some great ones, but some average ones. And I'm just saying we tend to be. Oscar Hicks is one of the Hall of Fame coaches at Unity for 20, 30 years.
And who is the 4th most winning football?
Arcola.
So I find that amazing.
I attribute that honestly to tradition.
The 1st and 2nd, of course, one is a Catholic school in Chicago,
Right.
and the other one is, I think,
East St. Louis and Mount Carmel.
Louis.
Yeah, I think Mount Carmel and East St. Louis are 1 and 2. And East St. Louis didn't start playing football for about 20 years after we did. So the Flyers have been dominant.
But for 2 small town football clubs, 8 miles apart, to be 3rd and 4th on that list is just amazing to me.
Well, one of our best football players was Nick Bates. His dad was one of our great ones too. But Nick was interviewed for the paper once, and he said, "Well, in Tuscola, he said you will play football." And I think that's kind of disappearing. I think they've got so many sports now. I mean, we won the state in cross country. We've got a baseball team playing out there. We never used to.
They're good. You play, because I played freshman year, but Steve was a year younger than me, and with Steve on the team, they didn't really need me.
No. well,
3 Division I scholarships in cross country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Steve, once again, tradition. Nick Bates is one of the best football players to come through in a long time. Before him, his dad, Steve Bates, one of the best played, and Steve's dad, Gary, played football back in around 49 or 50 with Corky in those
Well,
days,
actually in the 50s.
early 50s.
Yeah, Gary was in the
But there's
50s.
a long line, and you can look at the Meyer family. You can look at all these
Do they call it the long gray line like West Point?
the long black and gold line.
I know her,
Mhm.
but
I don't have any names. I've got three pictures like this. It looks like a restaurant, maybe,
Well,
kitchen help, and I don't have the names.
trying to think where that's at. Because that's not Nick's, is it?
well, that was my first guess.
That looks like Nick's back there, the way he had
Yeah,
his.
it's my first guess. God, he hated to go to work.
He did. Nick hated, but his wife was always friendly.
Mhm.
White French fry bins in the background there.
That looks like Julie Carter,
Hmm.
Fred's wife.
I don't know. That's just the counter looked like Nick's.
Home of the Reno Kid. I recognize that.
Well, go ahead.
I don't know who the Reno
I
kid
said,
was.
yeah, I recognize
Oh,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
I'm trying to guess.
Reno. Who's Reno?
Yeah, I don't have any comments on this. I don't know what this is about.
Me neither.
Well, that's Ronnie Earl on the left, pointing to where he killed the dummy, a silhouette. And on the right,
Stevens.
that was old Chief Stevens.
Yeah,
He was let go. There's a story on Chief Stevens. He conducted a raid on the Jake's Pool Hall down the basement.
Yeah.
My dad had just left it, avoided it. My Uncle Judd got caught in it. 3 other guys, and it was so controversial. There was a tremendous backlash, and he did it with State Trooper Nyheiser, I think. And they did a big raid on it, and the people in town were upset because nobody was hurting anybody down there, just friendly game, nickel dime. I think he was let go shortly after that raid.
Probably that was not good.
Yeah, it's small town. thing.
Ronnie couldn't have been a police officer today. They carried too much equipment. He didn't
Yeah,
like
Ronnie-
all that stuff.
Yeah, today they carry about 50 pounds of stuff on them.
Well, it's Paul McCullum in the back middle. Oh man, that's kind of smeared too a little bit. This is an Eaton
Yeah.
here. Second in left's an Eaton.
We know that girl too. That's
Oh,
married Hackett.
yeah,
Hackett.
she married Dave, but she's with Jim Cox.
What was
Yeah.
her name?
Well, shouldn't have asked me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's a Hackett.
Kathy.
It's
Kathy.
Kathy Weber.
Kathy Weber. Oh,
Yeah. Oh man.
that is Woodrow Wilson. Now come on. That's
Looks like Grover.
Grover Helm, but we're not sure.
That's
That
an
is
old.
correct. That is correct. This is 1939.
I was going to say that's an old picture.
Grover Helm.
Over Helm, 1939.
Wow.
It's a large
Now,
negative.
that's neat. That's a neat picture.
Yeah, isn't it?
Going on in the office, isn't there?
That was back at the end of the Depression, back when the banks were, some of them shut down. Well, that was not a staged photograph, I would say. If Bob's coming to my house for a picture for the paper, I don't think I would do that.
I don't know who that is. I can't tell.
Looks like an old 50s kitchen, though. Well, there was the anti-war Vietnam protest.
Right down Main Street.
Are you making that up, Mike?
I make everything up, David.
Because this is an anti-war protest.
Yeah, and I recognize
This is 1971 during the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that is, trying to see if I see Bill in there. He was at military school.
Yeah, no, I wasn't involved. I was
Yeah.
in Tuscola.
Danny
That's a-
Mack says Paul Coverstone, front and center question mark.
It shows the old elevator, Fullerton elevator back there.
Yeah,
There's
I was
the
gonna
old-
say it's a backdrop picture.
There's two bugs. There's a beetle bug here and there's a bug parked over there. There's two Volkswagen bugs in the photo.
Mhm.
Yeah,
This is Reef Stack store now where the drugstore used to be.
yeah. Used to be at the corner of the Star Store
Mhm.
way back.
Got a few hippies in this picture.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I never understood. I was in college during the hippie era. And I never understood this, David. You could help explain it. The hippies, as I understand it, did not want to be conformist. They want to be different. So they all dressed exactly the same.
Well,
Drew
that's what people say about the goth movement, where
Right.
they want to be different. Well, they all look alike.
Yeah.
I do hope they timed that parade when John Beatty wasn't
Yeah.
uptown.
Now this is our military getting ready for the demonstration. They were going to fire that rocket at these guys if they got out of control.
Protest.
I don't remember I don't remember the Air Force bringing in a strike bomber.
I
Do
don't
you?
remember that.
Good Lord, looks like the X-15.
And I wonder if they brought in this missile, and then the protesters showed up.
Yeah, it was a recruiting effort, and they showed up.
Kind of interesting to see that in Little Tuscola in
I
19.
wasn't on coffee break at DeKalb during that time.
I was at Fort Riley, Kansas, at officer basic course.
71.
Well, yeah, summer 69, I was at Fort Benning. And summer 70, I was at Fort Riley. 71, I was going in the Army. I think I dropped out of law school my sophomore year. After my sophomore year, I went to the Army for 2 years.
I had several of these pictures because I wanted to show the background and of the elevator and this missile showing here.
Those are pretty neat.
I bet
Those missiles look
I
neat.
bet Bob visited with the protesters.
Yeah, Bob. Now,
He would have liked
now, who's
that.
going to fit in that plane?
I don't know, but see how white the old elevator
Yeah.
was after it
Yeah.
was built?
Yeah, those elevators just turned dark gray.
And this one shows the old German building.
I think the Hound Dog was unmanned. I'm having to guess. Maybe it wasn't, but it looks like an
I
unmanned.
don't see a cockpit, so
Very tiny guy flew it. Well, that is the elevator.
Otto's Garage. That's Otto's
Is that
Garage.
Otto's garage?
Yep, sure is.
Oh, that's that's right. There's the old,
Lift.
but I'm trying to see where, oh, that is right down the street where the
Yes.
current water tower is.
Yeah, that's looking
So
down,
it's looking west.
looking to the west, but that's the back of Otto's Garage looking.
Dwayne Otto, nicknamed Dirty Ott, because there it is.
Yeah,
Dwayne's hands were always black because he had them in diesel fuel and grease.
Hard
all day
worker.
long. Hard worker, strong as a bull. Good
hard
guy.
worker.
Good
Yeah.
guy. Everybody like Dirty Ott or Dwayne. And that looks like Benjamin Netanyahu on the right.
It does, doesn't it?
That is him. He came to German for a while to do a little. Looks like they're doing some kind of a mock
Mhm.
disaster, or either that it's a protester got hit by a missile.
this is a mock emergency. Scott Brewer said he thinks that might be him in the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got dental work. It looks like he needs. But that
Needed to call his dad.
But that was Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Well, they're the obstetrics ward.
This is still part of the mock emergency, and
Having a mock baby being delivered.
Chubb Connor says nurse Carol Knox.
That's right. That's Carol Lossman. That was Doc Lossman, the dentist. That was his daughter. She's over in Villa Grove now, married to Chuck Knox, former chairman of the Douglas County Board. Carol was a class of 55, I think.
The old emergency room.
Yeah, that is the old emergency room.
Hang on a second, I lost my feed of pictures on the from Facebook. Okay, there, I got it back. I don't have a lot of, I got a lot of pictures from that event because I thought people might recognize them. But I don't have a lot of comments, but I did get them posted a little late, so. We'll go through those and quickly and see if you recognize anybody. Some of them are a little hard to see anyway.
Let's see if I don't recognize the officer, do you?
No, I don't.
Or it could be state police from the uniform, I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. The hospital, when did the Jarman didn't open till 65? So how can this be?
This is from the 70s.
This is no, this is late
No, that's
60s.
71.
71, okay. Oh, boy.
No.
Just want to
They both
remind
have-
people.
Yeah,
What if they accidentally brought in a real victim of a car wreck? And
They threw them on the floor with the others and didn't know.
and said, come on, get up. It's over. Get up.
Do want to remind people, this is all fake. This is
Oh, we think.
drill.
It's
We're not-
invested information.
If I had actual pictures of dead bodies, which I have come across in our archives,
Yeah.
I would
Bob,
not be showing them on the air.
Bob was deputy coroner. He did a lot of auto wreck shots.
Well, sometimes I've taken pictures for the coroner.
His murder, he had a couple of murders, remember?
Yeah.
I don't think this guy's gonna make it.
No, I could diagnose you from here.
This one's
Looks like Dave Brown.
oh, it looks like he's getting blood.
No,
transfusion.
it couldn't be Dave Brown. He wouldn't fit on the cot.
Oh, he was smaller. He wasn't always big. Big Dave Brown. Okay.
On the left.
Waldo Ball, second from the left.
Right.
Wonderful old Waldo Ball.
And Bucks.
Ambucks. Waldo wound up being national president, I think, of
Mhm.
Ambucks.
One of the nicest men I ever met.
Assistant manager out of DeKalb with Mr. Graham,
Well,
Albert Graham. Was he assistant or just in
no,
charge of
Bruce was the,
Bruce?
or not Bruce, Ray Carlson was the assistant
What was
manager.
Waldo?
Waldo, I never figured that out, but he was in charge of something.
Well, he wasn't sacking Steve's corner with my
No,
dad,
he
I'll tell you
wasn't
that.
sack and seed. He's like a business manager.
Well, that's
Oh, there's Chet.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, that is Chet.
That's Chet.
I started saying Arnhem Bear, but this is over at
Villa Grove.
Villa Grove, Chet Keller. And Chet was an Urbana High School all-state football player, went to Wisconsin, played football, blew his knee out.
Well, which one is he?
He's the one on the left with dark glasses.
When I was elected state attorney in 76, I hired Chet eventually as my traffic prosecutor for a couple of years. He's a wonderful guy. Great
Joel and Monahan has provided other names. So do you have the other names?
That's
Well-
Mary Monahan on the right.
And the guy standing,
Don't know.
Joe Ellen says Larry Hirschberger, Bill McFadden, and Mary Monahan.
Bill McFadden. Huh, worked at the plant. This is from the First National Bank. But who is that guy? Is that one of Earl of Pearl's
no, you
hirees?
know about George Edwards at the time, George Edwards Bank?
Oh, yeah.
Don't know. Got a name?
Nope.
Now, that looks like Jim Perry, but I don't know if it is.
I think it is.
That's what Chubb Connor said.
Jim Perry graduated in 1960, was a quarterback, homecoming king.
He wasn't quarterback with those sideburns.
He was homecoming king. This is after he was a mechanic. He was homecoming king, and the queen was what's her name that he wound up marrying?
Christine Moore.
Christine Moore. Jim wound up marrying my cousin over at Garrett. I'm forgetting names now. Carolyn Oy. They had about 3 or 4 girls. Went down to Texas. He's down in Texas right now. Good guy, good quarterback. But you're
Mhm.
right. He played for Bucko,
He wouldn't play with those sideburns.
and he was a tough nut. And he actually raced, by the way. Go back to Jim. He actually raced NASCAR for a while. Little known trivia.
These are demonstrators at the war.
They were rating demonstrators.
I don't know.
Looks like Ted Cox, but I'm not sure.
Oh, gosh.
Oh boy. My eyes are hurting looking at this one.
Yeah, some of these negatives are a little thin, and when they're
Hmm.
Yeah.
thin like that, they pick up static from the background backlight.
I'm sorry, I can't get it, but who's the lucky guy?
Is that you, David?
And it's not me. Nancy Harsh says front Jerry Wills, Lynn Cross Colbecker, herself, Nancy Harsh, Cheryl Mulligan, Bozarth, Bev Swihart, question mark, Leonard Brewer, Trish Staler Miller, back row, question mark, Marcia Deems, Sandy Hanners, Whitley, question mark, Alice Voorhees, maybe, Rena Matthews, Joy Fay, then she's got a dash, Weaver, doesn't know the first name, Ted Gailey.
Ed Gailey,
Ted Gailey, the guy.
the rocker,
Where's Cheryl Bozarth?
right next to her. Cheryl's there. Lynn, there's Cheryl.
Then Sandy Whitley says Nancy Babs and Levon Donley, question mark, next to Marcia Porky Deem.
Not a good nickname.
Yeah,
That's Marcia Dean.
That's Jerry Wills right
Uh-huh.
there.
Yeah, that's Marcia Dean right there.
Mhm.
Danny Matthews says Alice Voorhees next to Rena Matthews Kane, back center, Coach Bob Gailey. I think the other one said Ted.
He said Bob Gailey. I thought it was Ted.
Well, the one said Ted and this one says Bob, so I don't know.
Close.
Let's flip a coin.
And it's one or the other.
One of the Gaileys. It's not Freddie.
I got a lot of comments on this one, so going through the comments, trying to figure it out. Crickets?
What?
The Crickets.
I'm hearing crickets.
Buddy Holly.
Okay, Katrina Wynn Kobecker says, Andrea Harsha, is that you front and center? And Andrea says, yep.
Ah,
And then let me see what else we've got here. Jane Becker is tagged. Says Karen DeFevers also says I also see Anita Roller.
that's you or me.
No, it's not me. Must be you.
And, so we got a few comments on that picture. Another stumper for you.
Well, it looks like she was stumped too.
I've got some names on this one.
You do?
Yeah.
Give us a name, we'll tell you who it is.
Chubb Connor says Janet Southard,
She was my 8th grade teacher.
right
And
center.
yeah, she's the one that looks stumped.
Mhm.
I don't know. Could be.
Sandy Whitley says Lois Summerlot serving cake.
Yep, the blonde haired girl.
Mrs. Summerlot.
Gail
Yeah.
Huber says this is the first Christian church when it was on North Line.
Mhm.
Shirley Quinn says Eleanor Larimer
Larimer.
in the middle next to Miss Southern.
That's an older picture of Miss Southern,
That is,
isn't it?
I wrote an article for you, David, where when I was in the 8th grade, I shot Renee Hedinger in the eye with a pea shooter, Miss Southern took me out in the hallway and actually literally picked me up on my toes and slammed me against the wall and said, buddy, time to turn over a new leaf.
Oh, good.
And then I wrote about 30 years later, I was a lawyer and she called me right before she died to her will and everything. And I wore my best suit and got all cleaned up, hoping she'd see a new leaf, but she never said a word.
Hmm. Well, this is the church I grew up in, so I spent a lot of time in this building.
Okay, Lee Allison, this is the church, and there's the old minister. Now, Bill, we know these here if you got to.
Yep, you know them.
That's our friend in the middle, Mr. Smith.
Oh, that's
These are Lee Allison on the left. That's Harley Teal on the
Harley
right.
Teal, you're right. And
Yeah.
the middle one is Cecil Smith.
Cecil
Cecil,
Smith.
back when he was a preacher at the Christian church.
Yeah.
Right, this was before he and a group broke off of the church and formed their own group.
Right,
Mhm.
Which one's Cecil?
right in the middle. There he is again.
And there, him and
There's Cecil and his wife Nancy.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been about 5 years.
that
old.
must have been when he came here to be the preacher,
You know, it could be.
because they're having a little reception for them.
There's all the deacons. There's Mr. McTool.
Gordon Adams.
No,
It's Mr. Adams,
Mr. Adams.
Not Gordon.
not Gordon.
On the right is Harley
Glenn.
Teal.
Glenn Adams.
Glenn
Yeah.
Adams.
So on the right's Harley Teal, Miss Smith. Right in between Allison and is Orville Fry.
Yeah,
Says
and the
Cecil
back
Smith.
row, the very back is Hanners,
Middle.
Ralph.
Ralph Hanners. Yeah, Glenn Adams, yeah.
Who's that right next to Glenn Adams? He used to drive what was the Mac Tool truck?
It was a Mack tool truck.
We should
Okay.
know this guy.
Sandy Whitley says first row, Lee Allison, Cecil Smith, Harley Teal. Second row, Ken Brody, Max Summerlot, Orville Fry, Ron Small. Third row, Glenn Adams, Ralph Hanner, Gene Hill.
Oh, Ron Small drove a truck for the co-op. I remember him.
That's back when you wore a suit and a tie to church.
I tell you what, I bet that was a tough interview. Cecil, very smart.
Very
man.
intelligent guy, very great guy. I like Smith.
Yeah, oh, I do
Cecil.
too.
I'm a big
Oh,
fan of
yeah.
Cecil. He's got a Bible, David. He's got a Bible that he had specially printed. That the text is on the left side, the right side is blank, and he's got every page he's got full of little chicken scratchings with the Hebrew and Greek
Mhm.
interpretations of words.
He used to come to my classroom when we did the sixth grade. We had a unit on Greece, and he would come and do a language section for us.
He always told me if I really wanted to understand the Bible, I had to learn Latin and Greek. And I thought, well, there's the end of Mike in Hebrew.
Mhm.
There's the end of Mike
Yeah.
reading the Bible.
The background on the left, that is the baptismal,
Yep.
where I was baptized when I was 15 years old.
That's the Numismatic Society. And coming on the right, we know him. Is that Atwill?
I don't know.
They used to have quite a Numismatic Society. Pete Newshill was in it. A bunch of guys had a community building, had big, once or twice a year, had big shows.
Yeah, I don't have any names on this one. And that's it for this week.
That's you.
That was interesting. And that's
Me.
Abe Lincoln on your shoulder.
It's Abe Lincoln.
Well, those were good. So David, you're
Go to
you're
Springfield.
going to Springfield to honor a friend, Mr. Milner.
Yeah,
That's nice of you.
yeah. Headed out there in a few minutes.
Anything else before we close her up?
Well, it looked like I wasn't at the school board meeting, but it looks like they're getting industrial arts back.
Oh, Bill told me that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to delve into that a little more and find out what's going on there. My question is, where are they going to have it?
It would have to be at East Prairie because the room is still available.
Let me
Right,
ask
that
you,
room is still a shop.
Do they still have all the tools and equipment they used to
I think
have?
they have a lot of the tools. Where they are, I don't know. Of course, the East Prairie tools will still be there, but the high school shop had some excellent tools. They were old, but they don't make them like that anymore.
Oh, no, they don't. David, I think industrial arts, they talk about artificial intelligence displacing certain people from the workforce, and artificial intelligence is going to displace white collar people that deal with large data. So what artificial intelligence cannot do are things that you can do in industrial arts.
Well, I gotta put in a word here. Years later, after high school, I went back and I interviewed John Hart, the former industrial arts teacher, uh, for a story. And he said, people think industrial arts in Tuscola is about building with wood, and that's all it is. He says, I really don't feel like I teach woodworking as much as I teach accuracy and pride of ownership and, doing a good job. And I would say, I think it's very important. I think even in my job, I took 4 years of shop, and although I don't work with wood, I still use a lot of the principles and basics that I learned in woodworking in doing layout and making sure everything's lined up the way it should and using measurements and planning things out. And so I think there's a lot of benefits there, even if you're not going into that field. And I had to point out this desk back here you see,
Right.
I built that in high school.
David, that's amazing because my nephew Todd went through school and kind of struggled, but the proudest thing he ever did was this clock he made in industrial arts, and he kept it and showed it to me. And I had his stepbrother the same way. A lot of people, probably the proudest thing they did in school was making something in industrial arts, and so it helps the ego, self-esteem, gives people confidence. There's all kinds of benefits. Industrial arts is kind of like athletics. It builds an awful lot of good character traits, in my opinion.
I think it's wonderful they're bringing back the program, and I didn't read the credentials of the teacher that's going to be employed, but also we're doing the Mattoon program.
That's my question.
Lift,
The question
yeah.
is, if we have the Mattoon program down there, is this a supplement? They figure that.
Well, I think there's girls that go to Mattoon for whatever they're doing, right?
Well, they have several different programs. I don't know that
Right.
much about them, so.
So, well, I thought that was a good move to do that. We used to
Okay.
go to Decatur to vocational school,
Right.
but no, the hiring of the new teacher, I think, is a very positive thing
Yeah.
for the district.
Yeah, I think people will be interested in, I think that's an important topic for Tuscola.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do too. Anything else come out of that board meeting?
Well, I think I don't know that much about it because I wasn't at the meeting. I know the aides filed a grievance and I think that's ongoing. Sound like the board did not accept their settlement offer on their grievance. I don't really know what it's all about.
But David, did they ever settle the pay problem? I mean, there's disputes. I've never heard the end of them.
I'm kind of waiting for the final on that.
That's been a couple of years.
It has been a couple of years, and all I could tell you is a hearsay. So I don't really want to. I'm not in the rumor business.
Well,
we are.
Bill and I couldn't even talk to each other if we couldn't use hearsay.
It's like what they say on Hee Haw. I don't go around spreading rumors, so you better listen close the first time. I don't go repeating rumors.
Yeah.
I've often said our picture from the barber shop with Fred and Howard is very reminiscent of the Hee Haw barber shop.
Yeah. But I've got to be honest, Dave, I look at that picture and I just get nostalgic. I miss Howard. I miss Fred, Grimbo, who used to write in.
Oh, he would have written in.
When we were live, we used to have guys make comments, and that was fun.
That was fun.
I think that will go down in history as our best show ever.
Well, it was your idea. I thought, well, what's Dave thinking of here? And he actually got a haircut. And
yeah.
And then, but I think the ultimate greatest moment in podcast history was in the background. Fred laid down and fell asleep during the podcast. I thought, well, that's what most people probably do halfway through the podcast.
Background today, we had your wife walking around back there. At least this time she has clothes on.
Did what?
Her clothes on.
Yes,
Well,
this
that's
time
the
she
way
has
we-
clothes on.
That's
Huh?
the way I get Bill to come over to the house to do this. Bill needs lots of incentives.
I see.
There you go.
Well, I think Becky wanted to see a picture of her good friend Lynn Colbecker.
She did. She got to
And,
see it.
Did you see it, honey?
Yeah.
She still had
Dave-
long hair, looked just like.
David, have a good visit with your
Dave,
friend.
drive safely.
All right. We'll see you. We'll see you next, and we'll see the people who watch. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.